That instinct would soon lead him to the role that would forever define his career: Henry Hill in Goodfellas. When director Martin Scorsese began casting the film, Liotta was far from the obvious choice. He wasn't Italian-American in the traditional sense audiences expected for a mob drama, and he lacked the long list of film credits many competitors possessed. But Liotta had something harder to define: an intensity that seemed both authentic and unpredictable. He pursued the role relentlessly. Legend has it that he approached Scorsese personally, explaining his connection to the story and his desire to portray Henry Hill not simply as a criminal, but as a complex human being driven by hunger, fear, and ambition. What makes a performance unforgettable? Is it technique, preparation, or something more instinctive? When Goodfellas premiered in 1990, audiences had their answer. Liotta's Henry Hill was charming and terrifying, vulnerable and ruthless. His narration guided viewers into a seductive world of power and danger, making them complicit in the rise and fall of a life lived outside the law. The performance became one of the most celebrated in crime film history. The film transformed Liotta into a household name. Yet the success also presented a challenge. How does an actor follow a role so iconic that it risks overshadowing everything that comes after? The burden of recognition. After Goodfellas, Liotta found himself navigating the complex terrain of fame. Offers poured in, many echoing the same volatile persona audiences had come to expect. Hollywood, after all, often rewards repetition. But Liotta resisted becoming predictable. He starred in a wide range of films: thrillers, dramas, action movies, and even comedies. In Unlawful Entry, he portrayed a dangerously obsessive police officer. In Copland, he delivered a layered performance as a conflicted detective struggling with corruption. Later, he surprised audiences with his darkly comic turn in Heartbreakers. Each role revealed a different dimension of his craft. Yet the shadow of Henry Hill lingered. Was it a blessing or a limitation to be so closely tied to a single performance? Did audiences see the character first and the actor second? Liotta never expressed resentment. Instead, he acknowledged the role's impact with gratitude, understanding that such defining moments are rare in any career. A private man in a public industry. Despite his intense screen presence, Liotta remained intensely private. He rarely sought attention outside his work and guarded his personal life carefully. He married actress Michelle Grace in 1997 after meeting her at a baseball game. The couple welcomed a daughter, Carson, who would later pursue acting herself. Though the marriage ended in divorce, Liotta remained deeply devoted to fatherhood. Friends described him as thoughtful, disciplined, and surprisingly gentle, qualities that contrasted sharply with the hardened figures he portrayed on screen. Why do we often assume actors resemble the characters they play? And what does that say about our relationship with performance? Liotta's life suggested a clear distinction between the two. Off-camera, he valued routine, family, and quiet reflection. His intensity belonged to his craft. A career reinvented. As the 2000s unfolded, Liotta entered a new phase of his career. Rather than chasing blockbuster stardom, he embraced character roles that allowed creative freedom. He delivered memorable performances in television series, lending his voice to video games, and appearing in independent films. His willingness to experiment demonstrated an enduring curiosity about storytelling. Perhaps most notably, he experienced a late career resurgence. Younger filmmakers, who had grown up watching his work, sought him out for new projects. Streaming platforms and modern audiences rediscovered his presence. In films like Marriage Story and The Many Saints of Newark, he reminded viewers that his talent had not diminished with time. His performances carried the weight of experience, sharpened by decades of craft. What drives an artist to continue evolving after achieving fame? Is it ambition, passion, or the simple desire to remain relevant? For Liotta, it seemed to be a combination of all three. He often spoke of acting as a lifelong pursuit, an exploration of human behavior rather than a destination. Even in his 60s, he approached new roles with the curiosity of a newcomer. The final chapter begins. By 2022, Liotta's career was experiencing renewed momentum. He had multiple projects in development and showed no signs of slowing down. Colleagues described him as energized, focused, and eager for future challenges. That made the news of his death even more shocking. In May 2022, while filming the movie Dangerous Waters in the Dominican Republic, Liotta died in his sleep at age 67. There were no immediate signs of illness. No public indication of serious health concerns. The suddenness of his passing sparked widespread speculation. How could someone so active die without warning? Had there been hidden struggles? Undiagnosed conditions? For months, uncertainty surrounded the circumstances. The medical truth. Nearly a year later, official autopsy results provided clarity. Medical examiners determined that Liotta died from natural causes related to heart disease and respiratory issues. Specifically, the report cited atherosclerosis, a condition involving the buildup of plaque in the arteries, and complications affecting his heart and lungs. The findings replaced rumor with reality. Heart disease often develops silently over many years. Symptoms may remain subtle or unnoticed until a critical moment occurs. Even individuals who appear healthy can carry underlying conditions. Liotta's death served as a sobering reminder of human vulnerability. How often do we assume strength based on appearances alone? How many unseen battles exist beneath the surface of seemingly vibrant lives? The fragility of time. For those who knew him, Liotta's passing was not merely the loss of a performer but of a colleague, mentor, and friend. Tributes poured in from across the entertainment industry, praising his dedication and authenticity. Many emphasized his professionalism on set. He arrived prepared, focused, and committed to every role, regardless of its size. Younger actors described him as generous with advice, willing to share hard-earned insights. His daughter, Carson, remembered him as a loving father whose greatest pride was her happiness. In moments of reflection, one cannot help but consider the fragile balance between ambition and mortality. How many plans remain unfinished when life ends unexpectedly? What dreams linger beyond our control? Liotta had been engaged to be married and was actively building the next stage of his career. The future, it seemed, still held countless possibilities. Understanding the man behind the image. To understand Ray Liotta fully is to recognize the tension that defined both his life and his work, a blend of vulnerability and strength, intensity and restraint. His adoption story shaped his sense of identity. His accidental discovery of acting shaped his career. His relentless pursuit of authenticity shaped his legacy. Each chapter of his life reflects a series of questions rather than simple answers. Did his early search for belonging fuel his emotional depth as an actor? Did the uncertainty of his origins give him a unique sensitivity to human complexity? Perhaps these questions explain the emotional honesty audiences sensed in his performances. He didn't merely portray characters, he inhabited them, revealing their contradictions. A lasting cultural impact. Beyond individual roles, Liotta's influence extends across modern cinema. His portrayal of morally complex characters helped redefine the crime genre, encouraging filmmakers to explore psychological nuance rather than simple heroism or villainy. His work continues to inspire new generations of actors who study his performances for their raw authenticity. Why do certain performances endure while others fade? What gives a character the power to remain alive in cultural memory decades later? In Liotta's case, the answer lies in emotional truth. His characters felt real, flawed, conflicted, and deeply human. That authenticity transcends time. The enduring question. Ray Liotta's life story invites reflection not only on fame and success but on identity, purpose, and the unpredictability of existence. He began life with unanswered questions about his origins. He stumbled into a career that transformed him into a global figure. He achieved lasting recognition yet remained deeply private. And he left the world suddenly, reminding us of life's fragile nature. What defines a meaningful life? Is it professional achievement, personal connection, or the legacy one leaves behind? For Liotta, perhaps it was all three. His work continues to resonate with audiences. His performances remain vivid. His influence endures in the stories still being told. And maybe that is the true measure of an artist, not how long they live, but how deeply their work continues to move others. A legacy that lives on. Today, Ray Liotta's films remain a testament to his extraordinary range and dedication. Viewers continue to discover his work, drawn to the same intensity that once captivated audiences decades ago. His journey, from an adopted child in New Jersey to one of Hollywood's most compelling performers, reflects the unpredictable path of human potential. It also leaves us with enduring questions. What hidden forces shape the choices that define our lives? How do moments of chance alter our destiny? And how do we wish to be remembered when our own stories reach their final chapter? Ray Liotta may be gone, but the questions he leaves behind, and the performances through which he explored them, ensure that his presence endures. His story, like his most powerful roles, refuses to fade quietly into the background. In 1990, Ray Liotta stepped into the role that would define him, Henry Hill in Goodfellas, directed by Martin Scorsese. Landing the part was anything but simple. At the time, Liotta was a rising performer, respected but not yet a household name. Studio executives questioned whether he possessed the star power to carry a major crime film. Other actors with more established reputations were considered safer choices. From a business perspective, Liotta represented uncertainty, a risk in an industry that often prefers guarantees. But Liotta was never one to wait quietly on the sidelines. Rather than accept rejection, he advocated for himself with relentless determination. He confronted producer Irwin Winkler directly, passionately making his case for why he understood Henry Hill in a way others could not. He wasn't merely seeking a role. He was claiming an identity he felt destined to portray. What drove such conviction? Was it ambition alone, or did he recognize something of himself in Henry Hill's restless hunger and emotional volatility? Then came a crucial turning point. Robert De Niro signed on to the project. With De Niro's legendary reputation attached, the studio's hesitation softened. His involvement provided credibility, stabilizing what once seemed like a gamble. The project moved forward, and with it, Liotta's chance at transformation. The gamble paid off. Goodfellas became a landmark in American cinema. It wasn't a glamorous portrayal of organized crime filled with polished suits and romanticized power. Instead, it was raw, fast-paced, and morally unsettling. The film pulled viewers into a world that felt claustrophobic and unpredictable, where loyalty shifted constantly and consequences arrived without warning. At the center of this chaotic universe stood Liotta. Henry Hill wasn't a kingpin commanding empires. He was a hustler chasing status he would never fully secure. His journey was not one of triumph but of endless craving. Through Liotta's performance, audiences experienced Hill's intoxicating rise and inevitable unraveling. His narration carried viewers through moments of exhilaration and dread, making them complicit in the character's choices. Audiences were captivated by Liotta's ability to balance charm and menace. His smile could feel welcoming one moment and threatening the next. He embodied a man seduced by power yet haunted by its cost. But behind the scenes, life itself was shaping the performance. During filming, Liotta learned that his adoptive mother was dying. The news struck with devastating force. Recognizing the emotional weight of the situation, Scorsese offered to shut down production so Liotta could leave. Few would have questioned such a decision. Liotta refused. He chose to finish the day's scene, a celebratory sequence filled with laughter and energy, while privately carrying the burden of grief. The contrast between his internal sorrow and outward performance created a profound emotional tension. That intensity seeped into his portrayal, blurring the boundary between acting and lived experience. How does a person compartmentalize such pain? Can art become a refuge in moments of loss, or does it amplify the suffering? For Liotta, the answer seemed to be both. His personal anguish became part of Henry Hill's restless energy, adding layers of vulnerability and authenticity that audiences could feel even if they did not know the circumstances. Living in Henry Hill's shadow. After Goodfellas, something unexpected happened. Despite delivering one of the most memorable performances of his generation, Liotta did not ascend to permanent A-list superstardom. Why? The reasons were complex and difficult to untangle. Timing played a role. Hollywood's shifting trends influenced the types of roles available. Personal choices shaped the direction of his career. And like many aspects of the film industry, success remained unpredictable. He turned down an opportunity to audition for Batman, directed by Tim Burton. At the time, he did not fully understand Burton's stylized vision or the cultural impact the film would have. Years later, Liotta acknowledged the decision as a regret, a reminder that even the most talented artists cannot foresee every opportunity's significance. He was also rumored to be linked to The Sopranos, a television series that would redefine the portrayal of organized crime for a new generation. Later, when creator David Chase offered him a role, Liotta declined. He wanted to avoid repeating the mafia persona that had already defined him. This decision reflected a deeper awareness. He understood something many actors struggle to accept. Audiences remember intensity. They remember the characters who provoke strong emotions: fear, admiration, fascination, or discomfort. Like Al Pacino in The Godfather or De Niro in Raging Bull, Liotta's legacy would always circle back to Henry Hill. The role was both a gift and a shadow, elevating his career while defining its boundaries. Was this limitation, or was it immortality? Is it better for an actor to be remembered for one extraordinary performance or many forgettable ones? Liotta eventually made peace with the answer. Rather than chase an elusive image of stardom, he continued working steadily, embracing roles across genres. He appeared in crime dramas, thrillers, comedies, and independent films, consistently bringing intensity and commitment to each performance. His career became less about status and more about craft. The weight of choices and time. As years passed, Liotta's journey reflected the unpredictable rhythm of a life devoted to art. He navigated Hollywood's shifting landscape, where fame can rise and fall with startling speed. Yet he remained remarkably resilient, adapting to changing tastes and evolving storytelling styles. He took roles that intrigued him rather than those that promised prestige. Sometimes these choices puzzled industry observers. Why didn't he pursue safer paths to greater recognition? Why embrace unconventional projects instead of repeating proven successes? Perhaps the answer lay in his personality. Liotta valued authenticity over image. He seemed drawn to flawed characters, individuals wrestling with internal conflict, ambition, and moral ambiguity. These roles allowed him to explore emotional depths rather than maintain a polished persona. And audiences responded. Even when the films themselves varied in reception, Liotta's performances rarely lacked conviction. His presence carried a sense of unpredictability that kept viewers engaged. Is true artistic fulfillment found in universal acclaim or in the freedom to explore without constraint? The final chapter. In May 2022, Liotta was in the Dominican Republic filming Dangerous Waters. Even in his late 60s, he continued working with remarkable energy, embracing new roles and creative challenges. His commitment to storytelling remained undiminished. Then, unexpectedly, he died in his sleep between shooting days. The news sent shockwaves through the film industry and among fans worldwide. Tributes flooded in. Scorsese spoke of his courage and dedication. Co-stars described his complexity, intense and focused on camera, often gentle and thoughtful off it. Those who knew him personally remembered his humor, generosity, and quiet professionalism. Yet questions lingered. He appeared healthy. He was actively working. What had happened? Nearly a year later, official autopsy findings provided answers. The cause of death was pulmonary edema and heart failure, with underlying atherosclerosis contributing. In simple terms, fluid had built up in his lungs, and hardened arteries placed unbearable strain on his heart. Authorities confirmed it was a natural death. For many fans, the explanation brought clarity, but also reflection. How often do we assume that strength equals invulnerability? How many warning signs remain unnoticed in lives that appear successful from the outside? How fragile is the boundary between vitality and vulnerability? Liotta's passing became a reminder of life's unpredictability, even for those who seem larger than life on screen. A legacy that endures. After his death, Liotta was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. His daughter accepted the recognition, transforming the ceremony into a moment of remembrance rather than celebration. It symbolized not only a career but a lifetime of dedication to storytelling. His final social media post promoted his role in Cocaine Bear, a reminder that he was still evolving, still experimenting, still willing to surprise audiences. Even in his final years, he resisted stagnation. Ray Liotta's career was never a straight climb toward predictable success. Instead, it was a series of sharp turns, bold decisions, missed opportunities, and unforgettable risks. He navigated Hollywood on his own terms, refusing to conform entirely to its expectations. He never fully fit the traditional mold of a leading man. He wasn't always the safest choice for studios. Yet he possessed something more compelling: authenticity. His performances carried emotional truth, capturing the contradictions of human nature. And perhaps that is why his work endures. When viewers revisit Goodfellas today, they experience more than a crime story. They witness a man channeling uncertainty, ambition, grief, and resilience into something timeless. Henry Hill's journey reflects universal struggles, the desire for belonging, the seduction of power, and the cost of chasing identity. The performance feels alive because it was shaped by real emotion. It reflects not just a character's transformation, but an actor's personal experience woven into art. The meaning of impact. So what defines a life in the end? Is it awards, recognition, or financial success? Is it the scale of fame achieved or the depth of influence left behind? Or is it something less tangible? The emotions stirred, the memories created, the moments that linger in the minds of audiences for decades? Liotta left behind more than a collection of roles. He left impact, etched into film history and into the cultural imagination. His work continues to inspire actors, filmmakers, and viewers who recognize the power of authenticity. His journey invites reflection on broader questions. What risks are worth taking in pursuit of passion? How do personal struggles shape creative expression? And what does it mean to leave a legacy that resonates beyond one's lifetime? Ray Liotta's story suggests that greatness does not always follow a predictable path. Sometimes it emerges from uncertainty, from bold choices, from moments of vulnerability transformed into strength. And every time Henry Hill steps onto the screen, restless, charismatic, and tragically human, the electric intensity of Liotta's presence reminds us that true artistry never fades.